Attorney General Barr said this week the president has never asked him to do anything in a criminal case. But Mr. Trump tweeted, "This doesn't mean that I do not have, as president, the legal right to do so. I do, but I have so far chosen not to." What does the president think is his legal authority to intervene in criminal cases and to order who should be prosecuted and who should not be prosecuted?
He didn't say he's ordering who should be prosecuted, who should not be prosecuted.
I didn't say he did. I'm saying, what does he think is his authority?
Article 2 provides our president, yes, ladies and gentlemen, including President Trump, vast powers. And the president is making the point, and the Attorney General, Bill Barr, is backing him up on this, that he has not interfered in any criminal case. I know people who are trying to bully Bill Barr out of his job, like Elizabeth Warren. Her campaign is dwindling. She's practically disappearing as a viable candidate, so she's got to pick on Bill Barr. He's not going to be bullied by people like Elizabeth Warren, Steve Cohen, the congressman who put a bucket of chicken there and then couldn't show up to the State of the Union.
To get involved in criminal cases?
The president has vast authority. The president could weigh in, but you see how the president weighs in. The president weighs into the whole world. He didn't have a conversation with Bill Barr about the Roger Stone case. He had a conversation with the whole world. Listen to what Barr said in that interview with ABC. Here he is.
If he were to say, go investigate somebody because and you sense it's because they're a political opponent, then an attorney general shouldn't carry that out, wouldn't carry that out.
Since Watergate, presidents have generally, perhaps not always, but generally stayed away from involvement in criminal investigations. Will Mr. Trump, going forward, respect Barr's request for him to stop commenting on current cases, whether it's in terms of on the air, public statements or tweets?
Well, a couple things. Very different to pick up the phone and ask your attorney general to do something in a criminal case. The president hasn't done that. He said he hasn't done it. Bill Barr said he hasn't done it. He hasn't done it.
But Barr said
that's incredibly
tweets
important.
Are making it impossible to do this.
And let me say something. It's not correct to say that presidents have not interfered. Bill Clinton pardoned a relative. He pardoned somebody who refused to testify against him.
Pardoning is
that's involving yourself in criminal
It's
matters.
Different. It's after the criminal process has been completed, and clearly
President Obama spoke up in the Freddie Gray case in Baltimore. President Herbert Walker Bush, Bush 41, I think commented on the case in L.A., probably the Rodney King case. So it's disingenuous to say that presidents don't comment on criminal matters. What is most important here, two things. One is the President of the United States has not asked or directed his attorney general privately to do anything in any criminal matter, including Roger Stone. Number two, he works hand in glove with the Attorney General, as we all are privileged to do, on any number of matters that affect this country.
This is Kellyanne trying to run cover for Trump after one of the more obvious assaults on the rule of law, which, for Donald Trump, is quite the accomplishment. The quick background is that Bill Barr's DOJ made a sentencing recommendation for Trump's former advisor Roger Stone of 7 to 9 years. And then that night, Trump tweeted, "This is a horrible and very unfair situation. The real crimes were on the other side. As nothing happens to them, cannot allow this miscarriage of justice." And the very next morning, the DOJ, led by Bill Barr, suddenly reversed its sentencing recommendation to 3 to 4 years, effectively halving their previous request. And in case Barr would have you think that this was a totally normal request, unrelated to the Trump tweet only hours earlier, consider the fact that all 4 prosecutors working on the case immediately quit, with one assistant U.S. attorney even leaving the government altogether. And of course, now we have Kellyanne Conway sent in to defend Trump by blaming everyone else, even going so far as to point to George H.W. Bush as a way to absolve this president today in 2020 for interfering in an ongoing case involving his own former advisor, who's being charged on 7 felony counts, including lying to investigators and witness tampering. She says that Bill Clinton issued a pardon, which Chris Wallace rightly pointed out wasn't interfering in an ongoing criminal case. She then said that Obama spoke up in the Freddie Gray case, which, again, wasn't interfering. With regard to that case, Obama said it was, quote, absolutely vital that the truth comes out. Talk about a controversial take. And then Obama expressly declined to comment on the legal process because he wanted to allow the judicial proceedings play out first, saying only that it's critical for, quote, all the evidence to be presented in the case. So if you're Kellyanne Conway and you can't tell the difference between a president expressing his hope that the truth comes out in a case and a president saying that the sentencing recommendation from his own DOJ is a miscarriage of justice, which is immediately followed by that same recommendation being cut in half only hours later, then you either aren't fit to advise anyone, or this is a clinic in gaslighting. Although in this particular instance, I feel like both are valid. Kellyanne even tries to defend Trump by saying that he hasn't picked up the phone and asked Bill Barr to do something in the Roger Stone case. Only he didn't need to. He tweeted the implicit directions out to 72 million followers. He wrote, "This is a horrible and very unfair situation. Cannot allow this miscarriage of justice." What's the point of a phone call? So that he can tell Bill Barr, "This is a horrible and very unfair situation. We cannot allow this miscarriage of justice"? Kellyanne even tries to hedge this behavior by admitting that Trump's tweet was, quote, "a conversation with the whole world." But it doesn't matter who comprised the entire audience. What matters is that the intended recipient among the whole world was the Attorney General. If you invite other people to witness a crime, it doesn't make it less of a crime. It just means you were stupid enough to invite other people. Because again, as I've said 1,000 times before, just because you do something out in the open doesn't make it okay. It just makes the misconduct brazen. That's it. But the best part has to be Kellyanne claiming that Bill Barr is being bullied out of his job. Because Bill Barr is the victim here. The guy destroying the Department of Justice by kowtowing to a president with nothing but disdain for the rule of law. The guy who held a press conference that grossly misconstrued what the Mueller report said with a summary stating the literal opposite of Robert Mueller's findings. The guy who lied about the findings of the Inspector General report, saying the Inspector General's report now makes clear that the FBI launched an intrusive investigation of a US presidential campaign on the thinnest of suspicions that, in my view, were insufficient to justify the steps taken. When in reality, it was once again the literal opposite, in that the Inspector General's report, quote, found no documentary or testimonial evidence that political bias or improper motivations influenced the FBI's investigation. The guy who traveled to Italy to try and gather information to undermine the Mueller investigation completed under the jurisdiction of his own department, all because the results of that probe made Trump look bad. And the guy who, just days ago, announced that he'll open a direct channel to people like Rudy Giuliani, who just so happened to be out in places like Ukraine gathering dirt on Trump's political opponents.
Senator Graham says that Rudy Giuliani will be providing the department information related to Ukraine and the Bidens. What is the process for receiving this information? Who will evaluate it? And is this something that you feel the need to recuse yourself from?
Well, as I've previously said, the DOJ has the obligation to have an open door to anybody who wishes to provide us information that they think is relevant. We had established an intake process in the field so that any information coming in about Ukraine could be carefully scrutinized by the department and its intelligence community partners so that we could assess its provenance and its credibility. And, that is true for all information that comes to the department relating to the Ukraine, including anything Mr. Giuliani might provide.
In other words, if Bill Barr is being, quote, bullied, it's because he's proven time and time again that he's only interested in helping Donald Trump pervert the department he's tasked with overseeing for his own personal political errands. So Kellyanne Conway can try and claim that people like Bill Barr are the victims. She can try and lean into this revisionist history, but the actual victims are the American people who are forced to watch as a criminal cabal parading as a presidential administration uses our tax dollars to exact revenge on their political opponents while the rest of their party is too collectively scared of a mean tweet to speak up. Trump and Barr aren't the victims here, they are the criminals.